तस्मात् Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarasya Tashmat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarasya Tashmat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarasya Tashmat Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarasya Tashmat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Mahabhagavat Srila Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patidas Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Nam Achay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishya Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami ki jai. Titiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Dandavat Pranams Rup Manjari Didi, Madhavi Didi, Ganga Didi, Raseshwari Mataji. Dandavat Pranams to all of you. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha. Sorry. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Itadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tar Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam pravrajantam anupetam apeta krityam Dvaipayano virakatara arjuhava Putreti tanmayataya taravo bhinedu Stang sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi Narayanam namaskrityam narang chaiva narottamam Devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet Shrinvatang swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana Ridantasta yabhadrani vidhunoti suhrit satam Nashta prayeshvavadreshu nityang bhagavata sevaya Bhagavatuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Tavaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina Iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshiptastakama ditaranga madhe kripa maitam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charana ravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so I'm not going to give a full-on recap of everything because I've already done it twice. But I'll just do a recap of the verses that we read yesterday. God. Today I'm feeling like my body is okay, but I'm feeling extra spacey. Don't know why I'm feeling so spacey, but okay. So from verse 30, we read verse 24 to 36 yesterday. So I'll just read that. 36. Okay, so it was 24. I'll just read from 21. Through the tricks of envious enemies, he falls from his prestigious position. Unable to sleep properly and losing his intelligence, he is troubled at heart. Attracted by little happiness, he has illicit sex or steals others' property. Then he is arrested by the government or chastised by the woman's husband. The wise therefore condemn the materialistic path, as it is the source of miseries both in this life and the next. He steals money and escapes punishment, but then another man cheats him and takes the money. In this way, the money never stays in one place and always remains the property of the Lord. Okay, I'll read what Jaḍa Bharata says and then Śukadeva Gosvāmī's explanation. So Jaḍa Bharata, he is busy counteracting the miseries of cold, heat, wind, rainfall, etc. Śukadeva Gosvāmī, he becomes very morose, being unable to tolerate the threefold miseries, calamities like the freezing wind and scorching heat, miseries offered by others, and miseries arising from the mind and body. What's the first one? The first one is right here, freezing wind and scorching heat. Like that's from the demigods, that's Adidaivik. And miseries offered by others, right? And then miseries offered by others is Adibhotik, and then miseries arising from the mind is Adhyatmic. Usually we hear it in another order, but yeah, okay. He is cheated in business transactions and creates enemies. That's Jaḍa Bharata. Śukadeva Gosvāmī, when people cheat one another, even by slight amounts, they become enemies. Jaḍa Bharata, sometimes he is devoid of wealth, home, bed, etc. Thus, he begs money from others, steals others' property, becomes disgraced. Śukadeva Gosvāmī, sometimes he is short of accommodation, a place to sit, and other necessities. When he is unable to secure the necessities by fair means, he decides to seize the property of others unfairly. Thus, he receives insults. What did we read? Okay, I think that's right up to 36. Yeah, okay, right up to. Oh, I forgot to open this. No, I did. 36. Wait, are we reading from 37? Yeah. Right? 37 to 46. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm a bit slow right now. Okay. And we'll be finishing this section. Today's going to be a short reading. Evam vitta vyatishanga vivrida vairanu pipurva vasanaya mita udvahatyata pavahati. Although people may be enemies, in order to fulfill their desires again and again, they sometimes get married. Unfortunately, these marriages do not last very long, and the people involved are separated again by divorce or other means. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As stated previously, every conditioned soul has the propensity to cheat, even in marriage. Everywhere in this material world, one conditioned soul is envious of another. For the time being, people may remain friends, but eventually they become enemies again. And fight over money. Sometimes they marry and then separate by divorce or other means. On the whole, unity is never permanent. Due to the cheating propensity, both parties always remain envious. Even in Krishna consciousness, separation and enmity take place due to the prominence of material propensities. So I just need to drink some water. Etasmin sangsara dhvani nana kleshopasarga badita apana vipano yatra yastam uha vavet taras tattara visrijya jatam upadaya shochan muhyam bibhyad vivadan krandan sanghrisyan gayan nahyamana sadhu varjito naiva vartate dyapi yata arabda esha naraloka sarto yam advana param upadishanti. The path of this material world is full of material miseries, and various troubles disturb the conditioned souls. Sometimes he loses, and sometimes he gains. In either case, the path is full of danger. Sometimes the conditioned soul is separated from his father by death or other circumstances. Leaving him aside, he gradually becomes attached to others, such as his children. In this way, the conditioned soul is sometimes illusioned and afraid. Sometimes he cries loudly out of fear. Sometimes he is happy maintaining his family. And sometimes he is overjoyed and sings melodiously. In this way, he becomes entangled and forgets his separation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead since time immemorial. Thus he traverses the dangerous path of material existence, and on this path, he is not at all happy. Those who are self-realized simply take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to get out of this dangerous material existence. Without accepting the devotional path, one cannot get out of the clutches of material existence. The conclusion is that no one can be happy in material life. One must take to Krishna consciousness. Purport. By thoroughly analyzing the materialistic way of life, any sane man can understand that there is not the least happiness in this world. However, due to continuing on the path of danger from time immemorial and not associating with sane persons, the conditioned soul, under illusion, wants to enjoy this material world. Material energy sometimes gives him a chance at so-called happiness, but the conditioned soul is perpetually being punished by material nature. It is therefore said, Dandya jane raja jena nadi te chubai. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 21:18. Materialistic life means continuous unhappiness, but sometimes we get happiness as it appears between the gaps. Sometimes a condemned person is submerged in water and hauled out. Actually, all of this is meant for punishment, but he feels a little comfort when he's taken out of the water. This is the situation with the conditioned soul. All the Shastras therefore advise that one associate with devotees and saintly people. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastre Koi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sange, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Even by a little association with devotees, the conditioned soul can get out of this miserable material condition. This Krishna consciousness movement is therefore trying to give everyone a chance to associate with saintly people. Therefore, all the members of this Krishna consciousness society must themselves be perfect sadhus in order to give a chance to fallen conditioned souls. This is the best humanitarian work. That's an interesting point. So it's not just for myself that I should become a perfect sadhu, although yeah, that should be part of it, but also it's to help others. If I don't become a sadhu, then how can I help other fallen conditioned souls around me? That's good. Yad idam yoganushashanam Navar etad avarundate yanyasta danda munaya upashamashila uparatatmana samavagachanti. Saintly persons who are friends to all living entities have a peaceful consciousness. They have controlled their senses and minds, and they easily attain the path of liberation, the path back to Godhead. Being unfortunate and attached to the miserable material conditions, a materialistic person cannot associate with them. Purport. The great saint Jaḍa Bharata described both the miserable condition and the means to get out. The only way out is the association with devotees, and this association is very easy. Although unfortunate people also get this opportunity, due to their great misfortune, they cannot take shelter of pure devotees, and consequently, they continuously suffer. Nonetheless, this Krishna consciousness movement insists that everyone take to this path by adopting the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The preachers of Krishna consciousness go from door to door to inform people how they can be relieved from the miserable conditions of material life. As stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. By the mercy of Krishna and Guru, one can get the seed. By the mercy of Krishna and Guru, one can get the seed of devotional service. If one is a little intelligent, he can cultivate Krishna consciousness and be freed from the miserable conditions of material life. Yadapi dig ibha jaino yajvino ye vai rajarshaya king tu parang mridhe shairan asyang eva mameyam iti krita vairanubandayam visrija svayam upasangrita. There were many great saintly kings who were very expert in performing sacrificial rituals and very competent in conquering other kingdoms. Yet, despite their power, they could not attain the loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is because those great kings could not even conquer the false consciousness of, I am this body and this is my property. Thus, they simply created enmity with rival kings, fought with them, and died without having discharged life's real mission. Purport. The real mission of life for the conditioned soul is to re-establish the forgotten relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service so that he may revive Krishna consciousness after giving up the body. One doesn't have to give up his occupation as a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or whatever. In any position, while discharging his prescribed duty, one can develop Krishna consciousness simply by associating with devotees who are representatives of Krishna and who can teach this science. Regretfully, the big politicians and leaders in the material world simply create enmity and are not interested in spiritual advancement. Material advancement may be very pleasing to an ordinary man, but ultimately he is defeated because he identifies himself with the material body and considers everything related to it to be his property. This is ignorance. Actually, nothing belongs to him, not even the body. By one's karma, one gets a particular body, and if he does not utilize his body to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all his activities are frustrated. The real purpose of life is stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1-2-13. Atapumbir dijasheshta varnashrama vibhagasha swanushtitasya dharmasya sangsiddhir haritoshanam. 1 second. It really doesn't matter what activity a man engages in. If he can simply satisfy the Supreme Lord, his life is successful. Karma valim avalambya tata apada katanchid narakad vimukta punar apyevam sangsaradhani vartamano naraloka sartham upayati evam upari gotopi. When the conditioned soul accepts the shelter of the creeper of fruitive activity, he may be elevated by his pious activities to higher planetary systems, and thus gain liberation from hellish conditions. But, unfortunately, he cannot remain there. After reaping the results of his pious activities, he has to return to the lower planetary systems. In this way, he perpetually goes up and comes down. Purport. In this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Brahmanda Brahmite kon bhagyavana jeev, Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. Even if one wanders for many millions of years, from the time of creation until the time of annihilation, one cannot get free from the path of material existence unless one receives shelter at the lotus feet of a pure devotee. As a monkey takes shelter of a branch of a banyan tree and thinks he's enjoying, the conditioned soul, not knowing the real interests of his life, takes shelter of the path of karma kanda, fruit of activities. Sometimes he's elevated to the heavenly planets by such activities, and sometimes he again descends to earth. This is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Brahmanda Brahmite. However, if by Krishna's grace one is fortunate enough to come under the shelter of the Guru, by the mercy of Krishna, he receives lessons on how to execute devotional service to the Supreme Lord. In this way, he receives a clue of how to get out of his continuous struggle up and down within the material world. Therefore, the Vedic injunction is that one should approach a spiritual master. The Vedas declare, Tadvigyanartam sagurum eva bigachet. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita 4.34, the Supreme Personality of Godhead advises, Tad vidi pranipatena. Well, let me just check the original book, 1 second. Usually whenever that verse comes up, it gives it twice and it gives a full translation. But in the book, it's not like that, generally. 1 second. Yeah, I was right. Okay. Whoa, that's strange. In the book it says similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead advises. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11.3.21 gives similar advice. Anyways, the Lord advises, Tasmar gurung prapadeta jigyasu shaya uttamam shabde parecha nishnatam brahmanyupashramashayam. Any person who seriously desires to achieve real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of a spiritual master is that he must have realized the conclusion of the scriptures by deliberation and be able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, are to be understood as bona fide spiritual masters. Similarly, Vishwanath Chakravarti, a great Vaishnav, also advises, Yasya prasadar bhagavat prasada. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the mercy of Krishna. This is the same advice given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. This is essential. One must come to Krishna consciousness, and therefore one must take shelter of a pure devotee. Thus, one can become free from the clutches of matter. Tasedam upagayanti arshabhasye harajarshir manasapi mahatmana nanuvartmarthati nripo makshikeva garutmata. Having summarized the teachings of Jaḍa Bharata, Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, My dear King Parikshit, the path indicated by Jaḍa Bharata is like the path followed by Garuda, the carrier of the Lord, and ordinary kings are just like flies. Flies cannot follow the path of Garuda, and to date none of the great kings and victorious leaders could follow. Oh God. Sorry. Let me reread that. I'm really spaced out. Flies cannot follow the path of Garuda, and to date, none of the great kings and victorious leaders could follow this path of devotional service, not even mentally. Purport. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.3, Manushyanam sahasreshu kasched yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin man veti tattvata. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And for those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. The path of devotional service is very difficult, even for great kings who have conquered many enemies. Although these kings were victorious on the battlefield, they could not conquer the bodily conception. There are many big leaders, yogis, swamis, and so-called incarnations who are very much addicted to mental speculation and who advertise themselves as perfect personalities. But they are not ultimately successful. The path of devotional service is undoubtedly very difficult to follow, but it becomes very easy if the candidate actually wants to follow the path of the Mahajan. In this age, there is the path of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared to deliver all fallen souls. This path is so simple and easy that everyone can take to it by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva Nasteva, Nasteva Gatir Anyata. We are very satisfied that this path is being opened by this Krishna consciousness movement, because so many European and American boys and girls are taking this philosophy seriously and gradually attaining perfection. Yodustyajan Darasutan Suhridrajam Hridisprisha Jaho Yuvaiva Malavar Uttamashlokalalasaha. While in the prime of life, the great Maharaj Bharat gave up everything because he was fond of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Uttamashloka. He gave up his beautiful wife, nice children, great friends, and an enormous empire. Although these things were very difficult to give up, Maharaj Bharat was so exalted that he gave them up just as one gives up stool after evacuating. Such was the greatness of His Majesty. Purport. The name of God is Krishna. The name of God is Krishna because He is so attractive that the pure devotee can give up everything within this material world on His behalf. Maharaj Bharat was an ideal king, instructor, and emperor of the world. He possessed all the opulences of the material world. But Krishna is so attractive that he attracted Maharaj Bharat from all his material possessions. Yet somehow or other, the king became affectionate to a little deer, and falling from his position, had to accept the body of a deer in his next life. Due to Krishna's great mercy upon him, he could not forget his position. He could understand how he had fallen. Therefore, in the next life, as Jaḍa Bharata, Maharaj Bharat was careful not to spoil his energy, and therefore he presented himself as a deaf and dumb person. In this way, he could concentrate on his devotional service. We have to learn from the great King Bharat how to become cautious in cultivating Krishna consciousness. A little inattention will retard our devotional service for the time being. Sorry. Yet any service rendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never lost. Swalpam appasadharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Bhagavad Gita 2:40. A little devotional service rendered sincerely is a permanent asset, as stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.5.17. Taktva sadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajan pakvo tapatet tato yadi yatra kva bhadram abhudamushakim ko varta apto bhajatam sadharmata. I remember Vangsi Viru taught us this verse in Puri. Somehow or other, if one is attracted to Krishna, whatever he does in devotional service is a permanent asset. Even if one falls down due to immaturity or bad association, his devotional assets are never lost. There are many examples of this. Ajamil, Maharaj Bharat, and many others. This Krishna consciousness movement is giving everyone a chance to engage in devotional service for at least some time. A little service will give one an impetus to advance and thus make one's life successful. In this verse, the Lord is described as Uttama Shloka. Uttama means the best, and Shloka means reputation. Lord Krishna is full in 6 opulences, one of which is reputation. Aishvarasya samagrasya viryasya yashasa shriya. Krishna's reputation is still expanding. We are spreading the glories of Krishna by pushing forward this Krishna consciousness movement. Krishna's reputation, 5,000 years after the battle of Kurukshetra, is still expanding throughout the world. Every important individual within this world must have heard of Krishna, especially at the present moment, due to the Krishna consciousness movement. Even people who do not like us and want us to suppress the movement are also somehow or other chanting Hare Krishna. They say, "These Hare Krishna people should be chastised." Such foolish people do not realize the true value of this movement, but the mere fact that they want to criticize it gives them a chance to chant Hare Krishna, and this is its success. That's great. I love that. So therefore, a devotee never becomes upset, even when they're out distributing books and when people are laughing and criticizing them, because the people are still getting benefit. Yodun Kshiti Sutta. Well, let me sing it. Yodustyajan Kshiti Sutta Sajanartha Dharan Pratyam Shriyuravarai Sadayavalokam Naichandripastaruchitam mahatam madhudvit Sevanuraktamanasama bhavopi falgu. Śukadeva Gosvāmī continued, "My dear king, the activities of Bharat Maharaj are wonderful. He gave up everything difficult for others to give up. He gave up his kingdom, his wife, and his family. His opulence was so great that even the demigods envied it. Yet he gave it up. It was quite befitting a great personality like him to be a great devotee. He could renounce everything because he was so attracted to the beauty, opulence, reputation, knowledge, strength, and renunciation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna is so attractive that one can give up all desirable things for his sake. Indeed, even liberation is considered insignificant for those whose minds are attracted to the loving service of the Lord." Purport. This verse confirms Krishna's all-attractiveness. One second, I'm just going to drink some water. This verse confirms Krishna's all-attractiveness. Maharaj Bharat was so attracted to Krishna that he gave up all his material possessions. Generally, materialistic people are attracted by such possessions. Ato griha kshetra sutapta vitar janasya mohoyam aham mameti. One becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. The attraction for material things is certainly due to illusion. There is no value in attraction to material things, for the conditioned soul is diverted by them. One's life is successful if he is absorbed in the attraction of Krishna's strength, beauty, and pastimes, as described in the 10th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The Mayavadis are attracted to merging into the existence of the Lord, but Krishna is more attractive than the desire to merge. The word abhava means not to take birth again in this material world. A devotee doesn't care whether he is going to be reborn or not. He is simply satisfied with the Lord's service in any condition. That is real mukti. Iha yasya harer dasya karmana manasa gira nikkilasvapyavastasu jivan mukta sa uchate. One who acts to serve Krishna with his body, mind, intelligence, and words is a liberated person, even within this material world. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-187. A person who always desires to serve Krishna is interested in ways to convince people that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. That is his ambition. It doesn't matter whether he is in heaven or in hell. This is called Uttama Shloka Lalasa. Yagyaya dharma pataye vidinai punaya yogaya sankhya shirase prakritishvaraya narayanaya haraye nama ittudaram hasyam mrigatvamapiya samudajahara. Even though in the body of a deer, Maharaj Bharat did not forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, when he was giving up the body of a deer, he loudly uttered the following prayer. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is sacrifice personified. He gives up the results of ritualistic activity. He is the protector of religious systems, the personification of mystic yoga, the source of all knowledge, the controller of the entire creation, and the supersoul in every living entity. He is beautiful and attractive. I am quitting this body, offering obeisances unto him, and hoping that I may perpetually engage in his transcendental loving service. Uttering this, Maharaj Bharat left his body. Purports. The entire Vedas are meant for understanding the karma, jnana, and yoga, the fruit of activity, speculative knowledge, and mystic yoga. Whatever way of spiritual realization we accept, the ultimate goal is Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entities are eternally connected with him via devotional service. As stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Ante Narayana Smriti. The perfection of life is to remember Narayan at the time of death. Although Bharat Maharaj had to accept the body of a deer, he could remember Narayan at the time of death. Consequently, he took birth as a perfect devotee in a Brahmin family. This confirms the statement of Bhagavad Gita 641. Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yogo Bhrashto Bijayate. One who falls from the path of self-realization takes birth in a family of Brahmins or wealthy aristocrats. Although Maharaj Bharat appeared in the royal family, he became neglectful and took birth as a deer. Because he was very cautious within his deer body, he took birth in a Brahmin family as Jaḍa Bharata. During this lifetime, he remained perfectly Krishna conscious and preached the gospel of Krishna consciousness directly, beginning with his instructions to Maharaj Rahugana. In this regard, the word yogaya is very significant. The purpose of Ashtanga Yoga, as stated by Madhvacharya, is to link or connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The goal is not to display some material perfections. I'm just curious how much more is in this. Oh, we're at the last verse now. Ya idam bhagavata sabhajitavadhata guna karmano rajarsher bharatasyanucharitam swastyayanam ayushyam dhanyam yashasyam svargyapavargyam vanushrinotyakyasatyabhinandati chasarva eva shisha atmana ashaste nakanchana parata iti. Devotees interested in hearing and chanting, Shravanam and Kirtanam, regularly discuss the pure characteristics of Bharat Maharaj and praise his activities. If one submissively hears and chants about the all-auspicious Maharaj Bharat, one's lifespan and material opulences will certainly increase. One can become very famous and easily attain promotion to the heavenly planets, or attain liberation by merging into the existence of the Lord. Whatever one desires can be attained simply by hearing, chanting, and glorifying the activities of Maharaj Bharat. In this way, one can fulfill all his material and spiritual desires. One does not have to ask anyone else for these things, for simply by studying the life of Maharaj Bharat, one can attain all desirable things. Purport. The forest of material existence is summarized in this 14th chapter. The word bhavatavi refers to the path of material existence. Atavi means forest, doesn't it? Atavi. Bhava means material existence. Okay. The merchant is the living entity who comes to the living entity who comes to the forest of material existence to try to make money for sense gratification. The six plunders are the senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, and mind. The bad leader is diverted intelligence. Intelligence is meant for Krishna consciousness, but due to material existence, we divert all our intelligence to achieve material facilities. Everything belongs to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but due to our perverted mind and senses, we plunder the property of the Lord and engage in satisfying our senses. The jackals and tigers in the forest are our family members, and the herbs, creepers, and creepers are our material desires. The mountain cave is our happy home, and the mosquitoes and serpents are our enemies. The rats, beasts, and vultures are different types of thieves who take away our possessions, and the Gandharva Pura is the phantasmagoria of the body and home. The will-o'-the-wisp is our attraction for the will-o'-the-wisp is our attraction for gold and its color, and material residence and wealth are the ingredients for our material enjoyment. The whirlwind is our attraction for our wife, and the dust storm is our blinding passion experienced during sex. The demigods control the different directions, and the cricket is the harsh words spoken by our enemy during our absence. The owl is the person who directly insults us, and the impious trees are impious men. The waterless river represents atheists who give us trouble in this world and the next. The meat-eating demons are the government officials, and the pricking thorns are the impediments of material life. The little taste experienced in sex is our desire to enjoy another's wife, and the flies are the guardians of women, like the husband, father-in-law, mother-in-law, and so forth. The creeper itself is women in general. The lion is the wheel of time, and the herons, crows, and vultures are so-called demigods, pseudo-swamis, yogis, and incarnations. All of these are too insignificant to give one relief. The swans are the perfect Brahmins, and the monkeys are the extravagant Sudras engaged in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. The trees of the monkeys are our households, and the elephant is ultimate death. Thus, all the constituents of material existence are described in this chapter. This is an interesting purport to come out of this verse, because it's saying that if you, Śukadeva Gosvāmī is saying that if you submissively hear and chant about this pastime, then you can become very famous, attain promotion to the heavenly planets, all these different things, whatever you want, be it material or spiritual, you can get it. And so it's like here Srila Prabhupada's like, but you don't want the material things. Like, yeah, I know you can get it from, it's like giving us a caution, you know? Okay. So thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 14th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Material World as the Great Forest of Enjoyment. And the next chapter is going to be very short, only 4,500 words, and it's the glories of the descendants of King Priyavrata. Then after that, chapter 15, is a description of Jambudvip. So tomorrow's a short reading, and then the day after that, we begin the Vedic cosmology. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Prajumna Prabhu has been so excited about this, the Vedic cosmology part, even before we started the 5th canto. He's been talking about it for a long time, so you must be so excited now. And am I feeling better? Yeah, I am. And the only thing that I'm not good, right? I'm super spacey right now and really slow. But that's all. Really spacey. But other than that, I'm feeling a lot better. Jai Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Mahabhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupana Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dasaguna Shara Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Rishi Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Nama Chashla Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Braja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Braja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Well, see, this is what I mean. I'm really spacey. I don't even remember what I just said. Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Sorry guys. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami Ki Jai, Tadiya Shubhatirabhav Titi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Dandavat Pranam Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashaja Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams. I feel like my brain is floating and I guess, I don't know. Okay, anyway, see you tomorrow.